for a little while before YouTube started censoring videos, and that she had confronted some Mzungus about their actions with children on the beach out there in Tanzania, and we wanted to get her on the show just to ask her about that and how her life is going in Tanzania since she has, walked away from Babylon. So, Tiffany, thanks for joining the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, so Tiffany, you are a young lady, and to say that you walked away from Babylon at such a young age, we call Babylon United States.
Yes.
What made you say, at such a young age, and really haven't, when I was 19, I didn't have any clear direction what I was going to do. At 19, I didn't. What made you say I got to get away from, Babylon?
So I saw the endless cycle of trauma, the endless cycle of abuse, the endless cycle of dysfunction in America. And I decided that I didn't want to put up with it any longer because a cycle continues if you continue in the circle. So I said, you know what, I'm going to break off from the circle and I'm not going to feed into it anymore because by staying in America, you're continuing that cycle, you're in the circle. So if you want healing and if you want all of that madness, all that dysfunction to end, you have to leave America. America was literally built to break African people in the diaspora and in the homeland. America was built to break African people. So I decided that I was not going to be broken anymore. And I decided I didn't care if I was by myself or how young I am. I decided I was not going to be broken anymore. And I was not going to stay in the dysfunctional circle.
So where did you originally grow up in America?
So I was born in New York, but I grew up in the suburbs of Georgia. It was a very, very, very suburban area. And it was like 70% white. It was horrible.
Okay, so you grew up in a predominantly white community. So with your parents, they basically had decent jobs, correct?
I grew up with my mom, and she was a nurse, so she had a kind of decent job. Yeah.
Okay, grew up with your mom. So high school, your school was also like predominantly white. You went to a black high school.
Yes, the whole thing was predominantly white. The only black school I went to was my preschool, and then I moved to Georgia. And then since then, kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school was white and Asian.
Okay, so what if somebody will say, well, why didn't she just eventually move to the black part of Atlanta?
Right. So it's kind of not hard to, but Atlanta is starting to get, everyone knows that Atlanta is getting gentrified. Like, they're starting to build Whole Foods in Atlanta. And anywhere where they build a Whole Foods, that's when you know that it's just starting to get torn down. And back when I lived in America, I used to go to Atlanta, like on the weekends and stuff. And I could see that the very, very, very few amounts of us were getting replaced by majority of them, which is actually, they're not the majority of anything. They make up, I think, around 10% of the whole planet. So even if I were to move to Atlanta, it would still most likely be predominantly white. Yeah. Okay,
so it sounds like you dealt with some different traumas dealing with the Mzungu. So, like, because that led to your decision. So, can you give, like, outside of the police brutality, what other things have you seen in your personal life? You can say, you know what, I can't. What else have you seen?
Well, I saw one thing that a lot of people see in America is the broken family system, and how, no matter how much money any family has, it's not, an African family cannot have a functional family in America. If in order to grow up in the suburbs, you have to have a bit of money. So, we had a bit of money, but still our family was not functional. So that's just one thing. And then seeing me growing up in the suburbs, seeing how white people walk around just so casually and like but I'm one of the good ones and stuff like that. It just really goes to show. And also the facts that we fall for it. You know, I fell for it because I used to be very, very brainwashed, but I fell for the whole, oh yeah, you're one of the really good ones. And you have to really think about what happened to us, what happened to our ancestors, and what happened to Africa. There's no such thing as a good white person or any other good Mzungu. So those are just like a few things. There's many things, but those are just a few things, my experience.
Okay, so what if someone says to you, well, Tiffany, you probably just had some bad experiences. You got to remember we built America, and I don't want to run from America and leave it to them to have that we need to fight in everything. What do you say to those people?
Well, it's definitely not just my experience. Every African person in America experiences trauma. Every African in America cannot have a life. Every African person in America is currently surviving. They're not living. So, to answer your question, I think you said, what did you say again? Excuse me.
I think for people, some people may say, okay, Tiffany, well, why you want to leave America? Our ancestors built America. Why you want to leave it to them? Shouldn't you fight and not run? Because they like to say you're running. That's what they say. So I'm pretty sure you heard that before.
Yes, I've heard that many, many times before. The whole, why are you running from it? Why don't you just go to solve the problems? We've tried to solve the problems many times. We saw with the Black Panther Party. We saw with Black Wall Street. The Black Panther Party was dismembered and Black Wall Street was bombed. So we have to be able to learn from what happened in the past. What everyone's doing, the whole protesting thing, the whole calling the senators, the whole voting, it's a repeating pattern. It's like A, B, A, B, A, B. And then we think, what comes after A? And then one of us says Z. We have to be able to follow the pattern. If we try to build something else, they're just going to destroy it again. So instead of trying to fight for something that cannot be fought for, we just have to say, you know what? Let me go somewhere where I am welcomed, and let me go somewhere where I actually can build something up. So that's what I decided to do. I noticed that it was A, B, A, B, A, B, and then it stopped on A, and I knew that the next one would be B. It wouldn't be some like 30. So that's honestly what every person has to do. Every African person has to do. We have to learn from history, and recognize the pattern, the sick pattern that's going on over
there. Okay, so you said that basically you notice the protesting, you notice the constant cycle. Now, have you seen what's happening in Nigeria right now with the SARS thing, right?
Yes, I have. I think it's the same thing that's happening in America, if I'm being honest. And it's the same thing with saying end SARS in Nigeria and end police brutality in America. All of African people's problems were caused by the white man and caused by Asians and by Arabs and Indians and Chinese and every other Mzungu. So if we want to end anything, we have to end the demonic cycle of white supremacy and all these other Mzungus that have a hold on us, because Africa was never corrupt like this. I like to say Africa is not corrupt. Africa is colonized. So if we want to end the corruption, we have to end the colonization, whether it's in Nigeria or in America. But you can't end it in America because we've tried that too many times and it's not possible. But we can't. If we want to end it in Nigeria, then we have to end colonization, because it's not just,
And one thing, even in Nigeria, from my research and what I'm learning with that, is that the Mzungu made sure to cause divides even within those countries. So you have the Muslim faction that's in Nigeria, and you have those who aren't Muslim, and they basically want the ones who's holding the power is the Muslim faction, and the Muslim faction do not want to give up power to those of the other tribes in the southern region of Nigeria, who they want to be living more progressive. They don't want to be under, I guess, a form of Sharia law. They want to just live their life, etc. And I always say, just my opinion, the only Islam that I can rock with is NOI Islam. Anything outside of NOI Islam, I can't rock with it because they just do some atrocities. And the thing is, a lot of times that what people don't understand is that outside of NOI Islam, the other Islam, they were actually taking like the Arabs version of it, right?
Exactly.
And the Arabs was enslaving black people first, before even the Muslim.
Right. Yes.
And let me ask you a question about that. Why do you think black people give the Arabs a pass? Like why is it that we on them as much as we on the Mzungu about slavery?
So it is the whole people of color thing. It's the whole, they're brown too, they get oppressed too, which is not true. I think my personal opinion is that I think the Arabs and I think the Chinese are far more dangerous than the white man because they like to hide under the facade of, well, I'm not the white man, he oppressed me too. And honestly, the whole reason why the Chinese man is not on top as the white man is probably just because they weren't as violent as him. They're still, maybe actually they probably are more violent than the white man because they hide behind the whole people of color facade. So while we have Africans in America looking at brown brothers and sisters and looking at the Chinese and looking at the Arabs as, our people of color, the Chinese people are currently raping people in every African country. They're running sex trafficking rings. They own the grocery stores. They're trying to recolonize the whole continent. And the Arabs are running banks. They have schools here. In the city center of Dar es Salaam, there's a school strictly for Arab children. That's because there's so many of them here that they have to have a school for their children to go to. While they go and they run all the businesses and everything, they send their children there. And just to sum up your question, I really think it's the people of color thing. We should not be looking at the white man as the only enemy because everybody, literally every other group on the planet has benefited off of our exploitation. And if you want to learn that, then you have to learn from history. You have to study history. And a lot of us are not studying history. A lot of us just stop at 400 years of enslavement and they don't go past that. In ancient Kemet, we had the Asians, we had the Chinese, we had the Arabs, we had the Europeans walking in and invading and colonizing. So it was everybody, and we have no friends. So, yeah.
Well, that's why at least here and many other, places on our social media platforms who are black, we're not saying the term people of color anymore. We're not saying minorities. We're not saying the term women. We're going to use the terms what they are because I believe that we have to cut off the strings of everybody like just dragging along with us. So you're telling me, well, we have some for people of color. I'm like, well, what is that? I don't know what people of color is. What is that? Exactly. Minority. Well, minority can mean a white woman. So what do you mean by minorities? Because getting, like Dr. King said, getting the language right is key. And like you said, if that people of color thing, it has been dangerous, and we have been suffering for that people of color thing that you're talking about there. But now you're on the continent and you're seeing the African, they call it the African Youth Spring, because not only in Nigeria, you have Guinea-Bissau, they're having protests. The Anglophone side of Cameroon is having protests. I know in the Congo, my Lord, I've been doing a lot of research in the Congo. Like at least 45,000 people are dying a month in the Congo for their resources. And now people, it's literally trying to genocide people trying to fight back. I mean, what is the tone on the continent right now? All this stuff is going on since you're out there.
Well, in Tanzania, we're not. Honestly, I think most of the focus is happening on the election that's going to be taking place, I believe, October 28th. So a lot of Tanzanians are not really talking about it unless they were going to school in a different country or something. So it's not affecting Tanzania as much, which is a problem because, Umoja, we have to practice unity. But like I said, while we are protesting in the streets, the white man and the Asians and the Arabs and everybody else are still taking advantage of us while we're protesting. So we have to see that they're really working behind the scenes. So they want us to protest. They want us to do this and that to get us distracted. And they want us to say hashtag end SARS when they know that hashtagging or protesting is not going to end SARS. If we want to end SARS, then we have to kick the white man, the Asian man, every Mzungu out of Africa. Then we can end all corruption that is currently happening in the continent.
But you know how it works on a continent, right? I mean, you could kick them out, but this is the thing. They have their puppet leaders. So let's talk about Nigeria. Recently it's come out that the UK has been giving money to Nigeria for SARS. Now, if you go into Nigeria, the white man is not really actively there telling them what to do per se. But what they done after so-called colonization, they put in a puppet leader. So basically, you do what the white man says. And so basically, the leaders, and everybody will tell you that the leaders is the one that's really, you got to start there first, right? Because if you get rid of the leaders, now replace them with another one that's controlled by the Mzungu. But if you get rid of the leaders, so when you think, like, I know you saw the massacre on the Lekki toll, right? I know you saw what happened there, right? In Nigeria.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah, the main thing. Okay, it wasn't a white man that said take the Nigerian military out there and just gun down, people like it ain't nothing. It was Buhari and his governors and all them who said it, which are all black. So, See, for me, what I have learned is that we have two problems in the black community globally. We have self-hate, and we have on the outside the racism, right? And a lot of times the self-hate is to me at times is worse than racism, because at least understand on the outside racism, I get it, I understand it, but the self-hate, this is what caused Buhari to go kill his own people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or Nigerians recently found stockpiles of food and money. They just eat from them. While people are suffering in Nigeria, they got the money and they got the food.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the young people are just like, man, F this, man. We sick of this. Like, we living like, it's like that mindset. It's better to die fighting and live my whole life like a slave.
Yeah. So answering your question, there are corrupt leaders, but I always say they were never you're not just born corrupt. They were corrupted by someone, and they were corrupted by Mzungus. So when I say kick out Mzungus, I'm talking about kicking out Mzungu ideologies, kicking out Mzungu spirit, kicking out everything. So that would include kicking out the corrupt leaders and replacing them with a true African, because the people that are running the corrupt countries or corrupted countries, colonized countries, are not Africans. They're literally just puppet Negroes. To have the title as an African, that's an earned title. You cannot just call yourself an African just because you were born in Africa. That is 100% an earned title. So the people that are running the corrupt countries, even though they might have this skin, they're still white. They're still Mzungu, because they have that Mzungu spirit, and they look to the Mzungu as massa, so they try to be as massa. So that's what it's going to have to take. We have to literally physically kick them out, but we also have to mentally and spiritually kick them out as well. And